Okay guys, once you get a feather in the clamp, you kind of just set that to the side. You'll pick up your jig. Now these jigs are very, very simple. How they work is you see the knock in there. Your knock goes over that little place in the back as if it were going on the string. The base of these jigs, they move so you have an even distribution or placement of your fletchings around the arrow. Now, I'm going to show you how to use this real quick. What I've done is backed these screws off from where I'd had it set for straight fletchings, and I'm going to reset it for the right helical. Now, how that works is you'll take your arrow. Be careful not to be touching around where you've cleaned. It's prepped and ready to go. You'll take your knock, and it does not matter where you start in this arrow, but you just slide it down in there and get it set. Okay? Now, you see how that works? It just spins the arrow. The next thing you want to do is take your clamp with the feather fletch in it and click it onto that magnet, and it holds onto it. Now, the key to this is you want to get as much of the pithy area, the bottom of the pithy area, on the shaft of the arrow as possible. So, you'll have to tinker with it. I can't hold it sideways and do that. So, I'll put it on there, and that was pretty easy. What you're looking for, say if this is the shaft of the arrow, you'll want the feather to fit on there as best it can, because sometimes it will want to go off to the side or be off to the edge or something like that. You want it to fit flat on there as possible. And that's what we've got here. And I really don't know how well you're going to be able to see any of this. But when that gets set down on there, you're going to have it seated fairly well. Now, once you get it on there where you want it, let me readjust that just a little bit. All you'll do is tighten these nuts back down, and they don't have to be super tight, but I like to snug them up pretty good, because I mean you don't want it to knock out a adjustment, because you could drop it, you could do whatever. And when it comes to feather fletchings, what you got to understand is that each one of these is going to be different. Not much, but once you get it set the first time, you should be good. Okay, let's glue these fletchings on. Now, when we talk about fletching, you got to understand that they have names, and there's 3 per arrow for most circumstances, and usually there's 2 of one color and then an odd color. The names for these arrows are called the hen and the cock veins. The cock vein is the odd colored vein, and it usually marks the fletching that's either out, like when you're shooting a recurve, or the one that's down when you're shooting a more modern bow that has a rest, unless you're shooting a whisker biscuit or something like that. But it doesn't matter which one you start with, it's all same. Now, again, you'll find your mark, get your fletch on there, in there, and you'll slide it down to where you need it to be. And then you'll want to make sure that it's placed down in there firmly, all the way down where it's flat, all the way down in the bottom, and it's in the clamp, because if you don't, then it goes on unevenly. You double check, make sure you're good to go on your mark we discussed, and then we'll slap some glue on here. Now, I had to run and get another tube of glue, and this glue is bonding. Well, it's called Fletch Tight, and they've done something different with it. I don't know. This is called Platinum. Somebody told me in the archery shop that they changed some of the formula or something like that. But anyway, This happens to be a little bit thinner from what I understand than the regular fletch tights. So all you got to do is just a standard tube. You'll poke a little hole in there. Screw the nipple on it. And you're good to go. Now, I don't have OCD or anything, but I do like squeezing these tubes from the bottom. They just seem to work better, stay neater to me. And then you'll see it feeding up, and then it comes out the top. Now all you'll do is run a bead all the way down here, and make it nice, fat, round bead. It doesn't have to be huge, but I like to get a good solid bead because I'd rather have too much glue on there than not enough. And this is the bead, what the bead looks like. It's just like a little bead of toothpaste. I'm hoping that you can see it. But that's what you want it to look like. And then you'll just take the side of the clamp, double check your arrow, make sure it's all the way down in there. And then the trick to this is that you'll take the bottom of your clamp and touch it to the base. Bottom of the clamp and touch it to the base of your jig. And then let it touch the metal clamp. You'll feel it, and then you just roll it on there. And just kind of push it. Don't push hard, because if you push too hard, it'll flip the clamp out, and then you got a mess. So you just make sure that there's solid pressure all the way down, and that your fletch is in constant contact with your arrow. And it should look like this when you get clamped down. Should be just a little bit of glue squeezed out from under it. Just leave it alone. It's good to go. And just make sure that it's nice and secure down on there, especially at the very front of the fletching, because if that's up, that's what's going to be sticking out. So, now, keep in mind that you have to let this set for about at least 2 hours per fletch. And I've only got one jig, so you can see how this is going to be a slow, continual process. So what we'll do, I'll show you how to pull the clamp off, how to change it, but it's obviously it's going to be a while before we get to that point. Okay, it's been a while. We're going to go ahead and change this, go to the next fletching. It's very simple what you do. You got to be a little bit careful, but you don't have to be all super delicate. You just grab the front of the arrow shaft and the jig, you grab the clamp, and you just squeeze it apart and just back it out straight. No big deal. You can see how the fletching went on there. All you'll do, set your jig up, put your hand on the bottom if it's not secured to a board or whatever, and then just roll it. One click. That's all there is to it. Then you'll reload the next one, which is very simple, just like before. One thing I will tell you, just you want to check, see if there's any glue on the bottom, which there was a little bit of drop of glue. Make sure that that's off, because if you don't, then you'll have irregularities in your placement of your fletching here. See? Nothing high tech, just like we did the first time. We got it in there nice and flush. We got it all the way down to the bottom of the pithy top of the pithy shell on the bottom of the fletching. We'll run another bead. Make sure you put the cap on this glue every time and push it all the way down. And all you'll do, just like I said before, put the base of the clamp onto the base of the jig, let it touch the magnetic portion, let it stick, and then just slide it on there. Okay guys, I've taken a couple days and just chucked a fletching on there every once in a while. I've just been kind of busy. We finished this up. Now there's only a couple more things you got to do to finish up your arrows. And the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to replace these nocks. We're going to put new nocks on it so that we can shoot with the cock vane out. So there's one or two ways that you can try to remove these nocks. The first thing I like to try is just a pair of pliers, channel locks, vice grips, whatever, and to try to remove it and save it. If you can't, then you can use a tool that's designed for this, and you can buy these tools at Walmart. They're knocking pliers. But the first thing I like to try is a pair of pliers or something up like that, and try to break it just like that. All I did was break the seal on the glue off that end. Now, what we can do is keep this, put it in a box, and use it again down the road. Once you get that off, it's very simple. You just take your scratch pad and you'll just really rough that up. Now, what I'm going to do, I am going to use a new knock instead of reusing the blue ones. I am going to take this knock and I'm going to put it on here. Now, it's very simple how you put these on. You'll just take a little bit of glue and dab some in here. I don't know how well you can see it, but it's just a drop in there. You'll take your knock and you'll put it on this little end and it'll squish out. And what I do is just roll it. And then what you'll want to do is, if you're going to have a cock vane out, this is going to be the vane that's going to be sticking out. So what I'll do is, I'll look to visualize as if the string was going straight up and down and this cock vane was going to be out. So I would put the knock like that to where it would be on a string with the cock vane out. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but that's what it's going to look like. Your cock vane is going to be out, and you will have your knock to where it's basically straight up and down with the cock vane out. And it's very, very simple. And you'll do that to the rest of them. I'm going to go ahead and put the nocks on the rest of these arrows, and then we'll finish up with 2 simple steps. Okay, we've got one more thing to do with the glue. As you can see, we've already got our nocks on. I like to take the glue and put just a drop of glue right here at the end of each, or the beginning of each fletching. And I feel like that tends to save the arrow from, or the fletch from pulling away from the arrow as easily. It kind of protects the front of that fletch. You'll notice that these feather fletchings are just a little more delicate than the plastic fletching. Now I'm going to go ahead and do that to the rest of them, and then I'm going to tie it all together with one last thing on these fletchings. Alright, we're at the final stage of fletching an arrow. Now, this is just something that I do. You can do it differently, but instead of buying different colored fletchings, I'll buy one box of fletching, and I will take a black marker and I will mark the cock vane. Just put a little black marker on it. It don't have to be nothing special, just something to be able to tell the difference so you can see it out of the corner of your eye. And this does not hurt the arrow that I know of. You just want to make sure that the one that you're marking is the cock vein. So, and you can do this however you want to. You can make nice little pretty hash marks. Just something to set it apart. Alright guys, there's 4 refletched arrows. It's very, very simple. I'm sure that at least one, if not most of them, are going to kill something this spring or fall. I do want to talk about the takeaways from this video. I think that anything you watch on the internet, there's always some kind of takeaway, and I like to touch on it at the end of the video. A, don't get caught up in the hype. I've been bow hunting for years, and I've killed literally hundreds of animals. It doesn't matter if it's old technology, new technology, it's all deadly. I encourage you to take advantage of people who do get caught up in the hype, because they throw this stuff out, and you can really take advantage of that and come out on top. Secondly, and it's very, very important that you inspect these arrows. It doesn't matter if it's yours or one that you buy someplace else, from tip to tip. Inspect them thoroughly, because you don't want it to come apart on you and you injure yourself or possibly injure somebody else. Your glues, like I said earlier, those super glues, that they're fast, but they tend to be a little bit brittle. I like a fletch tight. It takes a little bit longer to dry, but it has more forgiveness. Billy Poe's opinion. A table cover, just a piece of cardboard folded over, taped on either your workbench or inside table. You have a tendency to drop glue, or you may spill some acetone or any other chemical you're using to clean these arrows. It just saves you some heartache in the end. And while we're talking about acetone, you actually rebuild a carbon arrow the same way you rebuild an aluminum arrow. It's just that you do not use acetone on a carbon arrow. I just know you're not supposed to. I think it has something to do with the absorption rate of the carbon, and it's just really not good. If you clean a carbon arrow, you want to use like a 90 percentile alcohol. You can buy it at Walmart. You can get it just about anywhere. Your arrow selection. Just be aware that you can't just go to a yard sale, buy any arrow, and shoot it through any bow. There is a formula that you want to shoot to get the maximum performance and the safest shooting you can get out of your bow, and it happens to do with your draw length, the bow weight, the length of the arrow, and the weight of the tip, and the total weight, grain weight of the arrow. You can Google it. You can find the Easton charts. It's very, very simple. But if you don't feel confident with that, just talk to one of your bow technicians. It's a very simple calculation that they can just look on a chart and put you on the right track, and they'll tell you if you got the right arrows or not. And in the end, you can save a little bit of money by just going with the all same color fletch and marking a cock vein, whether it be if you're shooting through a rest, cock vein down, or a recurve, cock vein out. If you're shooting a whisker biscuit, it doesn't make any difference. Anyway, I appreciate you watching. I hope you learned something. I look forward to getting some feedback from you. If you guys see something that I can do better, shoot me a comment. Other than that, I'm Billy Poe. I appreciate you watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.